Well, Kevin Danna is going to join me as we present a group therapy session. If I'm not mistaken, Kevin, that's 7 road losses in a row for the Golden State Warriors. Is that correct?
You are not mistaken, sir.
Oh, boy. We're going to talk about why and if there is any salvage left in this season for the defending world champs. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, sometimes Golden State Warriors, sometimes even the LA Clippers, you damn traitor, you. I'm teasing. At Kevo408, that is his Twitter handle. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. Kevin, you called the Santa Cruz Warriors earlier today. That ended, unfortunately. The Golden State Warriors were in Oklahoma City, one of the few places in the country I thought would have been a friendly confine for a team that's struggling on the road. Alas, it was not. What is your reaction? What happened in that game tonight? I can't even explain it. Your thoughts, Kevin, and great to see you, brother.
Great to see you, Cyrus. My reaction is at least Metropolitan's 92 won today. So I went 1 for 3. Victor Wembanyama had 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 blocks in a 78-76 win over Pau Ortiz. So the Santa Cruz Warriors lost to the worst team in the G-League today. Gave up 127 points. I mean, they have talented players, the Birmingham Squadron, but as a collective, they are now 7-19 in the regular season. For a team that was a game out of the playoffs coming in, that was not a good loss. And then, I had so many people come up to me, many people, come up to me over the weekend like, oh, the Warriors are turning around. I'm like, let me see this happen on the road. And then I will say they've turned it around.
And you have not seen it on the road.
Well, they've gone 0-2 on this road trip. I don't think the Lakers game was super winnable just because not only was it the third game in 4 days, but the third game was at 12:30. Like it was 3 and 3.5 days almost.
Yeah.
They were really behind the 8 ball there. This is one they had to have, and they did not get it.
And when you say they had to have it, I'm guessing
loss.
And when you say they had to have it, I'm guessing you're saying that because of the upcoming schedule. Is that why? Because of the tough competition?
You know what? Like, I'm not even worried about necessarily like the upcoming schedule per se. And look, I know like with the Grizzlies, Sixers, Bucks on the horizon, Suns, all those teams like on the horizon or whatever, it's not easy. But like the teams they play at home, they're probably going to beat them. They got to get some road wins, though.
Yeah.
They probably need 3 or 4 road wins to, like, put themselves in a position to avoid the play-in. And at some point, they need to start winning those games.
Yeah.
And, like you mentioned, it's 7 straight road losses. They haven't won since they were on the road since they were last in Oklahoma City. That was like the beginning of February or end of January. I can't remember I know it was like January 30th. I think, if I remember correctly. I'm not looking at the schedule right now. But it's just, you know what? They're like a little bit better than 500. That is who they are. And maybe that changes in the postseason. Look, I'm never gonna count this team out until they have lost 4 games in a playoff series, just because they've earned that respect. But at some point, the results tell you a pretty clear picture, and the clear picture that we're getting this regular season. I mean, Steph Curry hit 10 threes and scored 40 points in this game, and the Warriors still lost. I think they're 500 in the games in which Steph Curry plays this year.
That is correct. And they're 2 games above 500 in the games he does not play in.
Yeah.
Which is not normal. I mean, look, this season, there's virtually nothing about this season that's normal. I'm looking at the stat sheet right now, Kev, and like on paper, everything looked okay. Like you said, Stephen Curry had a monster game. Was 10 for 16 from deep, finished with 40 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. awesome night. Klay Thompson, 23 points. He was a half point off my PrizePicks bet. God damn it. That would have been like the one thing I could have been happy about. But regardless, yeah, his over-under in PrizePicks was 23.5. That was all I needed. He finishes with 23. But so 23 points is good. He shot better than 50% from the field. I thought Dante DiVincenzo, even though he had a bad shooting night from beyond the arc,
He was great.
he made up for it with hustle plays on defense. The two teams are virtually even in a lot of categories. I mean, the Warriors made 23s. Oklahoma City made 17. They both shot in the 53% range in terms of field goal percentage. Oklahoma City shot 6 percentage points better from beyond the arc. But again, the Warriors made 3 more. The Warriors now trips to the line. Oklahoma City did have 8 more of those. That's a theme that's been going on this entire year. And I thought the refs really messed with the Warriors tonight with a few unfortunate calls. Did you see that one call, by the way, the technical on Jordan Poole? What did you
That was a
interpret
bad
that?
technical foul. I can't believe he got a technical foul for that. That was less than ideal. Well, it didn't come back to bite him because the technical free throw was missed. But I mean, you hit on it, Cyrus. It wasn't just the 8 more free throws that Oklahoma City shot. It was that they shot 15 in the third quarter. And I think that's where the game like really flipped. They were very intentional. Like they got to the line like they shot 4 free throws in like the first minute of the third quarter, I think, or like first minute and 10 seconds. And that's kind of where they barely got to the line in the first half. I think they shot 2 free throws in the first half. I'm looking at the game book right now, and they were 1 of 2 from the foul line at halftime. And then they got 15 free throw attempts in the third quarter. And it's just, a lot of times with this team, it's point of attack defense. If you're getting beat initially, then that's going to create a lot of problems. Guys are going to get to the foul line because they're getting into the teeth of the defense. Golden State, from my recollection, didn't foul a 3-point shooter today. It's all on drives. It's all, being unable to keep your man in front of you. And that's been a problem like all year. And that's where GP2 would help if, eventually, hopefully he gets healthy before the end of the regular season. That's where he could really, really help.
It would help. I feel like his whole injury is a huge mystery. I something tells me we're not gonna find out when he's gonna play until he actually starts playing. I don't know. There's a huge cloud of mystery surrounding the injury itself. If he's gonna come back, they said a month plus, and they'll reevaluate him. Andrew Wiggins was sorely missed in a game like tonight.
Yeah.
He's missed a chunk of games now. We still have no idea what's going on with him. Today was the first time since Andrew Wiggins started missing games where I was actually getting DMs from listeners and viewers of the show saying their patience is starting to run a little thin. They brought up examples of, if this was any other workplace, you couldn't just really skip out for a month plus. I can understand the fans being a little frustrated. At a certain point, some transparency regarding his status would be nice because we're gonna find out one way or another. He's not gonna just come back and the why of him being gone for a month plus isn't gonna just stay a mystery. But maybe that will quell the anxiety and the frustration of Dub Nation a little bit. But he's missing big time. The one stat that really stuck out in the box score, I thought, Kevin, and I love your thoughts on this, was rebounding. That is where there was a clear discrepancy. Besides the free throw attempts, that did make a huge difference. The Warriors that lose this game by 9. They went to the line 8 fewer times. But they also were killed on the glass, 45-33. And I'm going to talk about Jordan Poole in a second. I do see people in the chat talking about Jordan Poole, and that's fair. I think the criticism toward him is valid. We'll talk about him in just a moment. But the rebounding thing, they were out rebounded tonight, 45-33 in terms of offensive rebounds. Oklahoma City at 13-8 for the Warriors. The Warriors just looked like a small team out there today. I'm starting to understand people's frustration regarding the team not pursuing a big in the buyout market. And when we come back, Kevin, I would love your thoughts on whether or not the time has passed for the Warriors surviving without having a big. Again, they made it last year. Maybe Kerr is onto something here and that you just don't ever need bigs again. Maybe he's ahead of the curve. I don't know. I would love your perspective on that. We'd also love to talk about the Santa Cruz Warriors because we had 2 members of the Warriors playing there today in Moses Moody and Anthony Lamb, whose status right now is a huge mystery. We got a lot
Lester
to talk about.
Quinones.
And oh my God, sorry, 3 and Lester Quinones. You're absolutely correct. Kevin, I'm going to touch on those bases with you when we come back. First, got to talk about Built Bar. Kevin, you've had one of these, right? Have you said you've tried one?
No, I still haven't tried one yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you and Kylan are both on my list. All right.
Yeah.
Well, they're amazingly yummy. They're covered in 100% real chocolate. If you're like me, if you're on a trek to shed a few pounds, they're awesome in that regard, simply because they make you feel full. They're only 130 calories each on average. They on average only have 4 grams of sugar each, and sugar is awful for your body. So 4 grams isn't that much, yet it's got these amazing flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond, and 17 grams of protein. And that's what makes you feel full. So if you got a munchie attack late night, but you want to keep the calorie count down, try a Built Bar. If you're trying to pack on muscle, eat a Built Bar. And if you just love the flavor, go for it, because you don't pay a price for it. And they're available not just online at built.com. You can also find them at Walmart and at Sam's Club. Get your Built Bar today.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Kevin Danna on Twitter at Kevo408. What's your assessment of Jordan Poole, man? His stat line tonight, I didn't think he had a great game. He came off the bench. The discrepancy between how he plays coming off the bench versus being a starter, it's alarming. There is a clear difference. He is just not the same player, at least this year, coming off the bench. Played 32 minutes, was just 1 for 7 from beyond the arc, shot just 33% from the field as a whole, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, no turnovers, which is kind of fascinating. Only had 2 fouls, only had 11 points. To me, the Warriors need him. What's your assessment of Jordan Poole as we're winding down the season?
Yeah, and they need Jordan Poole to be a little more efficient. That's a fact. There's no way around that. He's 4 of 22 from 3 in his last 3 games. I remember during this game tonight when Steph went out with like 6:27 to go and the Dubs were down maybe 10 or something like that. That like Fitz said, all right, Poole needs to start hitting some shots. And he had 1 or 2 clean looks. They just didn't go down today. Jordan Poole's efficiency is taking a hit because defenses are more geared up on him. And that next step of a progression, it's probably going to take another year or two based on what we've seen today. I have the confidence that he's going to take that next step because of A, his work ethic, and B, his talent, even in games where he's not that efficient, is so apparent, where he could just, even on a bad shooting day, still have like 4 or 5 wow plays. And you just remember, oh yeah, that's why we have to live with some of the bad shots he takes, because he can do X, Y, and Z. But Jordan Poole right now, it's the lows are low, the highs are high. And that's kind of how it is for young players. And until he's able to kind of grow as a basketball player, which is going to take more reps, more seasons, this is kind of what we're going to see. I mean, Steph Curry had a lot of ups and downs at the beginning of his career. I'm not comparing Jordan Poole to Stephen Curry. I'm not saying he's going to become the next Stephen Curry. I'm just saying that he's figuring this out right now. Yeah. And he's in his 4th year in the NBA after 2 years of college. And it's, he's 4 years from the peak of his power, 4 or 5 years from the peak of his power. So that means there's going to be a lot of learning on the way. And yeah, anyone will tell you, he needs to be a little less loose with the ball. There's no doubt about that. And hopefully that's something that will come with time for him.
Right. And again, which is weird because normally turnovers are his problem. Had none tonight, but yet he didn't shine.
Yeah,
The one. Yeah, sorry.
I was gonna say, and I think he really only took. I can only remember one bad shot he took. Usually, there'll be points of the game where like that was not a good shot, Jordan. And I only said that to myself once today. So like, I didn't have a problem with a lot of his shot attempts tonight, from what I can remember. They just didn't go down.
Sorry, I had myself muted there for a second. Do you remember that one play? I think this was near the end of the second quarter. Correct me in terms of the time if I got that wrong. And I had no idea what was going on. Fitz and Kalena Azubuike were not at the game because only one of the games on this road trip, we were talking about this before we started recording, is actually being televised by NBC Sports Bay Area. The other two are nationally televised. So they stayed home. It was only one game. They were doing what they similarly did during the pandemic. I think you do this sometimes with the Santa Cruz Warriors. But it was noticeable in this instant because they weren't at the game. And so they couldn't tell the viewers at home, yourself, myself included, what was going on with Draymond Green when he suddenly like pouted and like gave up on a play. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you remember that?
I know the exact play you're talking about. I saw what everyone else saw. I don't know exactly why he was mad. Maybe he's going to address that post game.
Right.
I'm not sure, but it was like, you gotta get back on defense. Like, all right, that was
it was weird. It was weird.
Yeah.
It was unusual. And again, like, and he was off the camera, off the screen. So we didn't even know what he was doing. He just did not go back on defense. We have no idea what he was upset about. Well, Steve Kerr was asked about that play.
Okay.
And so we're all hearing this for the first time together. Here is Steve Kerr talking about what happened with Draymond, where he just gave up.
There was a possession late in the first where Jordan had the ball in his hand and Draymond was waving down, he was open, and Jordan passed it off to Clay, turns into a turnover, and Draymond didn't join the team on the other end. Just what did you kind of think of?
I felt we were a little disconnected in the first half several times, and so we talked about that at halftime. Tried to get back out there and compete. The second half, but there was definitely a disconnect in the first half, and that cost us.
All right, so we didn't get really specifics there. I don't know what a disconnect fully means, but I have no idea what happened. But man, they look disjointed. I think that is a fair word to say to describe that situation. Yeah. Pretty brutal. Do you have any suspicions based on the fact that you cover games all the time, what Draymond might have been upset about there?
No, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes guys get pissed off on the court. I don't know. Like, it was very frustrating to watch from a perspective of get back on defense. But I don't know. It happens. I remember it happening. I think Draymond did this once before earlier this year. It might not have been Draymond, so I don't want to, but I remember an instance where one guy on Golden State absolutely just gave up on a play offensively and didn't get back. Yeah, I mean, it's a long season. This happens, but you would hope that it wouldn't happen in a situation like this because you're up against it if you're Golden State. And so that's not why they lost the game that one play, but it's not a great sign.
It's not a good look. No. And the people in the chat seem to be saying that he got upset because Jordan Poole didn't pass him the ball. I'm just telling you what people in the chat are saying. I could not recall what triggered him, but that was really unusual. Jonathan Kuminga I thought had a solid night. I mean, I don't think this game because of him. The stats were remarkable, solid. I don't want to be too hyperbolic, but 21 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, shot 73% from the field, had 13 points in the fourth quarter, a quarter where the Warriors almost came back. It looked like they gave up the game, and all of a sudden they're within 6, but they just couldn't close it out all the way. And you look at the last 5 games that he's played, he's put up 28 minutes, 13 minutes, 32 minutes, 29 minutes, 25 minutes. And in the games where he's playing 25 or more, he's productive. He's scoring, 16 points, 19 points, 19 points, 21 points. What are your thoughts on Kuminga? Because I was a little upset last game that he only played 13 minutes. You could tell he was a little frustrated. I think Kuminga's at a point where you just have to write it out with him. If he has a bad start, let him play through it. Your thoughts, Kuminga, tonight, and just his general usage. Do you mind Kerr? Are you all in on Kerr? If Kerr decides one night he's only going to play 13 minutes, do you think he should be consistently playing like 20, 25 plus? Your thoughts on Kuminga, including tonight's performance?
Well, I think the Lakers game was more the exception than the rule, at least recently, right? We saw this a lot with him at the beginning of the season where he was getting yanked early, and there was like a lot of times where he wasn't getting a ton of PT. But like recently, if you go beyond the last 5 games, which I guess would that be the Trailblazers game before that, 27 against Minnesota, 24 against the Rockets, 25 against the Lakers, 22 against the Clippers, and then 13 against the Wizards. So like the previous like 4 games, so 8 of the last 9 games, he's been at 22 minutes plus. So I think recently his minutes have been trending well. And I understand that people want to see Kuminga play more, but like, I mean, in that instance, I mean, you can't like argue with the strategy just based on, how like Iguodala and Anthony Lamb produced in that game. And right. I know you had a tweet about saying the plus minus didn't tell the story of that game. Well, like Anthony Lamb did hit 2 huge threes against the Lakers.
Was it 2 or 1? Maybe it was 2. I don't know.
No, he hit 2 threes.
Okay.
Someone can fact check me on that, but I'm like almost positive he hit 2 threes. And Andre Iguodala in the second quarter was like fantastic for goals.
He was, yeah.
So like I didn't have a problem with him playing 13 minutes when he was like trying to figure out how to decipher the Lakers defense. They like basically tell them like go ahead and shoot, and he's been working on getting to the rim. There was possession where he was visibly frustrated with how things were going on. But I think Jonathan's improved leaps and bounds this year. I think he's been really, really solid for the most part since like the end of November, early December. Maybe starting with the game on my birthday against the Boston Celtics, where he really just put in like just a great 2-way game. So, I mean, we're looking at 3 months plus of really good basketball from Jonathan Kuminga, and he's not going to be great every game. He wasn't great against the Lakers, and so Kerr decided to go a different way. But, I mean, I think generally speaking, Jonathan Kuminga has the potential to be so damn good in this league.
Agreed.
So good.
Wholeheartedly agree. I don't think we have any idea still what the ceiling is going to be. And the reason why I didn't emphasize the plus minus in that game that much was I believe that was the second time this season Lamb has led the team in plus minus. They lost both those games. It's again indicative of that plus minus not necessarily being that important, or maybe it's important in that Lamb shouldn't be the leading plus minus player for you. Game.
I'm sorry, just to cut you. In that game, Lamb. I don't think Lamb was on the floor when they got down 20. So like he wasn't the part of the story of why they like dug themselves in that hole to like lose that game. But anyways, go.
No, but I just don't like the sacrificing Kuminga's minutes in the process, because like even tonight, 13 of Kuminga's 21 points came in the fourth quarter. Sometimes like players don't start great. You got to give them some leeway. It's not a confidence builder to yank players like that still. And in that same game, Clay was minus 27, Looney was minus 26. Steph was minus 12. That's what I meant more so with the plus minus not being representative of who you should be playing, because you're not going to yank Clay. If he's at minus 27 in a game, you're not going to pull Steph if he's minus 12. I don't know, but I just don't like Kuminga getting shorted on the minutes. That's my main issue. That's been my main issue with the 2-way players this whole year. I just don't like who's losing minutes where they're gaining minutes. That's been the issue this whole season with me. And when we come back, I'd love to get your insights on how Santa Cruz did, because they had one. Lamb is playing for him right now. Lester Quinones is playing for him. Moses Moody is playing for him. I'm going to pick your brain about that in just a moment after we talk about FanDuel, one of our newer sponsors. And the midway point of the NBA season is here, if you count the postseason. And now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. All you got to do is download the sportsbook app courtesy of FanDuel It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line, point scorers, threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. Kevin Danna bets on it all the time. I'm kidding. He's not allowed to. But so don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. I'm like losing my voice here for some reason. I think that's what happens when the Warriors lose 7 straight road games, this time falling to the Thunder, 137-128. But on the other side of the coin, I still got that overlay up. Sorry about that. The Santa Cruz Warriors played, and Kevin, you're the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, and they have a few players on the roster right now that are part of the Golden State Warriors. Moses Moody. I'm actually really happy he's on assignment playing in Santa Cruz because at least he's getting reps. Great call, I think, by the organization to do that. Lester Quinones is there, who's currently on the Warriors technically with that 10-day deal, which expires, I think, next Tuesday. And then Anthony Lamb is on the team right now, who's in sort of a limbo because right now the roster's full. He used up his 50 games playing for the Golden State Warriors as a two-way player. But my sneaking suspicion, let me know what you think about this as well, is when Lester Quinones' 10-day deal is up next week, they will give the guaranteed spot, or maybe they'll just keep giving 10-day deals. I don't know. But Anthony Lamb will most likely be back with the team playing once Lester Quinones is no longer, once his 10-day deal expires. How are these three doing in Santa Cruz, man? You mentioned it earlier in the show, they lost to the worst team in the G-League. What's going on when three members of the Golden State Warriors are on a team that's losing to the worst team in the G-League? Is there too much? Am I reading too much into that? Your assessment of all
that. So you are, I mean, and of course it is my job to paint a prettier picture. But I will say they're the worst team by record. But like they recently got a guy who was just waived from the Chicago Bulls. They have if you looked at their roster and if you had watched a lot of G League games, you would say this team should be a lot better than what they are. It was a 9 a.m. Pacific time start for them today.
Oof.
So
rough.
That didn't help. There was I'm looking at the attendance. 7,000 screaming kids is a school day game. So they bust a bunch of kids out there and stuff. But individually, Moses Moody was really good today. He had 13 points in the fourth quarter. I know you saw the putback dunk he had, Cyrus. My God. It's one of the best putback dunks I've seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
He got off to a slower start and then got off to an even slower start in the third quarter. And then he had that putback dunk, and then it was boom. He finished with 25, 7, and 4 today. And just one turnover. He hit a couple of threes. He was 11 of 20 from the field, 2 of 5 from deep. So he was efficient no matter how you looked at it. And then Anthony Lamb, they bring him off the bench because they kind of like their starting unit. And Ryan Rollins, they brought off the bench when he was healthy. And Ryan Rollins was just a microwave scorer in this league. And Anthony did a lot of everything today. 13 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, 4 block shots. He had 2 blocks on one possession, one right after the other. His outside shot wasn't going today, 1 of 5, but he makes a serious impact when he gets out there. And then Lester Quinones has just been the rock for this team all year. Didn't have his best game today, 11 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. But, I mean, he's played in it. He is the Kevon Looney and Jordan Poole of the Santa Cruz Warriors in that he has played every game this year.
Nice.
His jump shot looks so pure. He's a good off-ball mover. When he locks in defensively, he could be a pest on the defensive end. And he has pretty good size for a 2 guard, even though I know it's more of a positionless game, but like he's like a shooting guard, and he has like decent size for the 2 position. I think he could probably defend some threes. He could probably defend 1 through 3 in the NBA. I've been pleased with Lester Quinones all year.
Yeah, and I would love to see Quinones get some real minutes in the NBA, just because he was originally supposed to be one of the two-way players with Spoons before the last minute decision. Moses Moody to me is I don't know, man. I do like you're watching him play significant minutes in Santa Cruz. Like, do you think he's an NBA ready player? Like, I heard Kerr last week talk about or making a correlation between Moody and Kevon Looney in terms of their progress, in terms of their growth. And Kerr made a comparison there, saying that he kind of sees Moody following the path that Looney did, which is kind of implying that Moody will eventually reach a level that is going to be consistent and he's going to be a contributor, but it might take a while at the same time, and it might be a slow progress to get there. Do you agree with that assessment? What are your thoughts on Moody in general, man? Do you think he's not ready to play in the NBA? What are your thoughts on him?
I think he's more or less pretty ready to play in the NBA. I thought he was pretty solid in his minutes last year. I think he has had some really solid games this year. I will say I don't think it's apples to apples with Kevon Looney. There's a lot of the reason why Kevon wasn't playing is because he wasn't healthy. And he basically had to change who he was as an NBA player. Like, he was like a point forward in high school. He was known as being like a, take you off the dribble handles, like kind of, he was a point guard for his high school team. And I don't know exactly like how tall he was in high school. I don't know that off the top of my head. But like, he was, that's why he was like a McDonald's All-American. He wasn't a McDonald's All-American because of his screen setting and his rebounding and his like textbook position defense, which is what we know him as now. And then he just missed so much time. Like his first, 4 of his first 5 years, I feel like, or 3 of his first 5 years, he was out a good chunk of them. And so like Moody's been in better health.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you do have to wait for some of these guys to cook. Like Steve Kerr's not wrong about that. Like if a guy's peak is when he's like 28 to 32 and that player is currently 20, that means there's a ton of room to grow.
Right.
And so you do have to be patient with those guys. Like that's why first round picks get 4 years of guaranteed money, essentially. Like team control, I should say, more or less.
Right.
And you got to see that time through. He is actually averaging a little bit more points and rebounds and averaging 1 more minute per game this year than last year. So like statistically, it's like a slight rise. And I understand people are saying he deserves more time. Kerr's not giving him the opportunity. He's actually playing him a little bit more this year. So it is a bit of a misnomer. I understand where people get pissed off with this. Like, well, he wasn't being played over by 2-way players last year, yada, yada, yada. We've had that argument a million times. I don't want to get into it again. You know where I stand. I know where you stand.
I think people want another 3 hours of discussion on the 2-way players, Kevin. I mean, it's the most interesting topic ever. We're not beating a dead horse at all. I do want to mention, by the way, Shane Young, first of all, I think he used to cover the Thunder. He sent this tweet out. I could be mistaken on that, but I think so. But he tweeted this out, that the Warriors are now 96-6 in the Steve Kerr era when they record 35-plus assists, which they did tonight. In the loss, the Warriors, I think, had a combined total of, I thought I had it in front of me. I guess I don't. Oh, no, here it is. 36. Yeah, they had 36 assists. And so they still lost. And then, meanwhile, James Wiseman, who got traded away in 34 minutes of play tonight for the Pistons, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 10 of 13 from the field. So I'm sure that's going to be a talking point throughout the season and beyond. I will leave you and the show on this note. I don't think there's any debate. Let me know if there is, but I don't think there is. That Jordan Poole is a vastly superior player when he starts versus coming off the bench. The splits are just so opposite. Like they're so stark. I've been saying this for a while now that I think Jordan Poole needs to start for no other reason except that if you want him to be productive, he is much more productive as a starter. His numbers are higher across the board. He's a more efficient shooter. He's a more high volume scorer. In your opinion, Kevin, what do the Warriors do about Jordan Poole? I don't think you can bring him off the bench anymore. I don't. I love Klay Thompson. I made the suggestion earlier in the season, and I still wouldn't be opposed to this, of making Klay your sixth man and having Klay kind of become a Manu Ginobili for this team where he still gets his 35 minutes. He still closes the game out, but he comes off the bench as a sixth man so Jordan Poole can start, and that way you're not suffering. I'm not saying this as a punishment to Klay. I'm just saying someone has to come off the bench if you're going to start Jordan Poole. And if Klay is up for it, I wouldn't mind seeing that. That's the only idea I could come up with. Otherwise, I don't know how you start Jordan Poole without going super small, and that small ball lineup does not work. Your thoughts, man?
I'm not bringing Klay Thompson off the bench, and
Okay.
I understand that you could still play him the same number of minutes. I'm not doing that.
Sure. Okay.
The
what do you do
last
then?
thing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
What do you do then?
You think I know basketball? Like, Jesus. Don't ask me. But like, no, yeah, I'm not. I don't know what the exact right lineup is, because the reason why I think they don't start with like why they ideally want Poole off the bench is because right now I saw the 3-guard lineup is Steph, Klay, and Poole is like a minus 6.1 in net rating or something this year. So it's not good. And I'm going to start Steph and Klay over Jordan Poole any day of the week. Like, until like those guys can't walk anymore, I'm starting Steph and Klay.
But again, it's not a diss. I'm not trying to diss Klay.
I know you're not trying to diss Klay.
It's just literally like it's literally just so we can get Poole in the starting lineup. Klay plays 35 minutes a game right now, maybe actually a little less than that. I'm not saying lower his minutes. He's still vitally important. He's still, to me, one of the best players in this game. I just don't know how else you start Jordan Poole. And Jordan Poole, I don't think this is sugarcoating it. I think he's just not that good of a player this year when he comes off the bench. And I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, because I feel like if you don't start Jordan Poole, you basically just lose that player. He's almost more a negative than a positive. I'm not saying to bench Klay as a punishment. I'm just saying it's just a rotational decision that, maybe we get the best out of Poole in the process. I have no idea, man. But
yeah, I think it's on Poole to like become more efficient off the bench. And I think that is something that can happen, because like we've talked about all the regression that Poole has made. He still like improved his scoring this year by like 4 points per game.
Yeah.
Like, all the inefficient talk, he's around 20 to 21 points a game.
Correct.
I think he was at like 16 a game last year or somewhere around there. One last point I do want to make about this game, because it was something that Fitz and Kalena always harp on, and they're not wrong. The Warriors were 27 of 38 inside the arc today. 27 of 38. It's better than 70%. And so they were essentially getting 1.4 points per shot inside the arc. And they shot just a shade under 40% from deep, 20 of 51. And that's essentially like I'm doing like, it's not exactly this, but it's like 1.2 points per shot. It's probably it's closer to 1.17 points per shot. But they took about 56 to 57% of their shots were threes. And I do agree with Fitz and Kalena that like if the threes aren't created the right way, like you do got to make a concerted effort to get inside, especially against a team that really didn't start like a true big. I mean, like Jalen Williams was their center today. Jeremiah Robinson Earl's probably like the closest they have to a true big, and he didn't play today, at least as far as guys who were available. And so like whenever they went inside, it worked, and they needed to shoot more than 44% of their shots inside the arc. Yeah. And I think that also, like, they were very efficient from deep, but they were more efficient inside, and they didn't take as many shots from where they were more efficient today. And I think that did not help them. And also the 21 turnovers is a ton.
Yeah. By the way, I just took a look again at the play where that upset Draymond Green, and he basically threw a tantrum because he was wide open in the paint and Jordan Poole just missed him. I don't know if Jordan Poole if that was intentional or if he just missed them. I don't know what happened there, but that is what led to Draymond Green having a little tantrum on the court. He was wide open in the paint. He was like clapping for it. Did the hand gesture like I'm wide open, and Jordan Poole just threw it back to the top and to reset, and then Dre just was like did his hand gesture like screw this and just started walking away. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Anyways, yeah, we'll this. I mean, this is exciting. It's dramatic. The drama is definitely giving us something to talk about. It's wild. I don't know what the hell to say or do anymore, Kevin. We'll be back at it next week, right? That's all.
Yep. Next week. And next week, Cyrus, we'll do it
live. Good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I don't know who's coming on tomorrow. The Warriors play the Grizzlies on Thursday, so that's going to be the next post-game show. But Kevin Danna, you can follow him on Twitter at Kevo408. Listen to his calls calling the Santa Cruz Warriors and sometimes Victor Wembanyama's team, and as well as anyone else who asks you to do play-by-play, like the LA Clippers, for example. I just love the fact that an NBA team went to you and was like, "We need you, save us." And you were
It was
there
pretty tight. I'm not gonna lie. I felt pretty awesome about that.
You should.
It came at like the perfect time too, because I was like pissed off at myself that I said Vincent Wembanyama on ESPN too, and like 3 days later I got called to do the Clippers game. I was like, all right, that was like a little consolation prize.
All right, folks. Well, we'll see how things go. I feel like it's a new story. It's a new feeling every day. So we'll see how it goes Thursday. If they can salvage the road trip and get at least a win in Memphis, that'll certainly make folks feel better. It'll definitely be a salvation of sorts, I think, if they win that game. And the Grizzlies are a mess themselves. So I think it's a winnable game, but we'll see what happens. All right, brother. Thank you for a great show. Thank you, everyone. Anything you want to promote before we go?
Let's see. Warriors play Birmingham at the same time they play that Golden State plays Memphis. So if if Golden State gets down 10 points in the first quarter again, and hopefully the Warriors in Santa Cruz won't be down 10 points in the first quarter to a 7-19 team. Usually these things work out in splits. So they got the loss out of the way. They, in theory, should roast Birmingham on Thursday. Me and Zena Cato on the call on 780 if you have Xfinity. I don't know about the other. I think 696-1 if you have DirecTV. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Watch us, give us ratings. All right. Peace.
Beautiful. Good night, everyone.